Hey dumplings, it's Dave Desai. Today I want to get into possibly some new updates on the BTS enlistment and what everyone's reaction is and just everything related to this. I also want to get into a moment where we have seen Jin crying and getting emotional and what happened there. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on, grab your dumpling, tea spilling mug merch, and let's get into it. This one is kind of a heavier topic, so I wanted to start it off with Jin being emotional. However, the whole topic of today is much heavier than usual, so take a deep breath and let's get into it. There was a moment back at a BTS concert, the one in Vegas, where Jin had sat out for most of the concert. A lot of the performances that weren't too bad, I believe he was able to jump in and he definitely was still able to sing and stuff. But he was advised by doctors to keep it low-key during the performances and not put too much strain. There was a lot of backlash over this, whether haters believed it was Jin using this as an excuse not to enlist, to which makes no sense, because the service would determine whether the injury is enough to not go. It wouldn't be up to Jin himself. Otherwise, anyone can just fake a leg injury and not go. They obviously check. And then there was also backlash with people being like, it's just a finger, he can totally still dance. With any injury, you never know what muscles are connected and things like infections and swelling can occur when you exert too much force. Ideally, you don't want things to move around too much. I don't know if a finger can sweat, but if it can, then that's not good either, as that area is supposed to be healing, not getting a butt ton of moisture. And plus, this was 100% doctor's orders to not exert too much energy. And funny enough, if Jin did decide to go ahead and dance during the concert, Hybe would have gotten backlash for quote-unquote forcing Jin to dance during his injury. So either Jin gets backlash or the label does. All that aside, of course, you can imagine Jin might feel a bit inadequate during the show because he can't pull his weight for the performances. And performances like Butter definitely require Jin to be in it. And I would imagine a lot of the choreography had to be redone to fit 6 members instead of 7. Jin was definitely feeling emotional, and there was a moment where J-Hope got a chance to speak and made it clear that Jin was not a burden to the group and that he doesn't need to feel that way. I'm sure even during the comeback, there's going to be moments where Jin or any member might not be feeling 100% and needs to step back. That's okay and expected. This does not make any of them a burden, so it's very nice to be reminded that you're not, but I want everyone to put themselves in Jin's shoes right now if there's any doubt that he is doing enough, because I think the overwhelming feeling he feels is not talked about enough or hasn't really been thought about at all. He injured himself. He said he felt like a burden. We know this. However, the group hasn't been able to do much during their constant fear of when they will enlist. So they can't plan any activities without knowing for sure if they have to leave tomorrow. Like, it would suck if in the middle of a comeback and Jin has to go. Hybe has talked about how the members are a little stressed over not knowing when the enlistment will happen or happen at all, as the news keeps saying we should exempt them, but no laws get passed. And of course, we can imagine that Jin also takes that pressure with him, as he could feel a lack of a comeback or lack of planning could be his fault for needing to go. Now, this is just a theory, but it's not that far of a jump, and you can imagine he might be stressed about this and his finger, and could possibly put the entire blame on himself. Jin teared up quite a bit during the concert and was relieved to hear that ARMYs and J-Hope himself do not blame Jin at all. And while no one blames him for anything, these are pressures that people tend to put on themselves. The news of the military enlistment was supposed to be decided at the end of April, the latest. This was what the government had told us. I'm not sure how, as kids or as students in school, if we were late for something, we'd get penalized, but the government and adults in the government agencies are not held to the same responsibility. We have not gotten any official news of this yet, but one of the reasons why we probably haven't gotten any news could be that everything is already decided behind the scenes, like they already know, but could just be worried about the public backlash, so they're holding on to that decision in secret. Or they are not sure how to execute the law because the military law might be mixed in with other laws and they're trying not to break the other laws. But I don't know, I don't work in politics. But these are just my theories. And the other one is simply that they just haven't decided yet. But there was a lot of push by government officials to pass this law to exempt. This was for sure talked about. However, unfortunately, the person in power and the person who had spoken about this, I believe their term was up, so they had to switch or proclaim a new leader. They asked the new leader to swiftly look over this law to exempt BTS, so this could likely be another reason it's taking so long, as the new leader has to relearn everything, and there's obviously training for a new leader, so the exemption could be the last thing on their to-do list right now. all just a theory, but hearing the leader say something like it would be a shame and really sad to lose BTS to the military service right now is something that was said, and I think we all agree with it and that they should get exempt. The main reason why everyone is saying exemption is because of just how much BTS has contributed to Korea. And of course, the whole point of the military service is so that every man has contributed to the country. They even said that it would be a great cultural loss to lose BTS right now. And I want to just inject this thought here. There's a lot of people saying that losing BTS right now is not a big deal because when they come back, they can just resume and likely a lot of armies will still support. But that's not the issue here. I don't think the concern is over the fandom, but over if they can even still do it anymore after the enlistment. Currently, this is their prime time. It's said that you only get like 10, maybe 15 years of prime years to put out your best work. And if you have it, you need to grab it and do something with it. And also, military training is hard on your body. Even if they give idols special treatment, it still has to be some version of the regular training. And when they come out, we could potentially be talking about the boys entering their late 20s or early to mid 30s. It's not impossible to continue their career at that age, but there's definitely a reason why most singers and celebrities start to kind of fade out of the spotlight around those ages, and or you never really see up and coming pop stars in their mid 30s. There could be one or two, but not common. And this is because you simply don't have the energy anymore. You are prone to accidents. You also want things like to start a family or to have a more normal life. And this is why so many idols after the service go into acting or hosting, because it's more calm, it's less traveling. They get to buy a house somewhere and actually use it. And they've made most of their money already and they're just working because they enjoy it. Do I believe that BTS will do this? I don't know. They seem to really enjoy singing and touring, and this is probably one of the reasons they've tried so hard to stay in a really good shape lately and all of that, just so that they can continue. But likely the choreography will be less crazy and less flashy, and things will be much more calmer when they enter their later years and still choose to perform. Of course, a lot of BTS's appeal is that they do ridiculously hard choreography, some of which they may not be able to do in their later years. So that is the concern, but I will still stand even if they have just the guitar on stage. However, the service is not as simple as everyone just wants BTS to be exempt and bam, it's done. There's a long line of tradition and culture that is tied into the service that you can't just simply ignore. This is obviously the main problem. People don't like change, and there's this mentality that if you change one thing for one person, eventually you will have to change it all for every person, and then the tradition, culture, or legacy is lost. But I'm sure there was a time a long time ago where athletes were not exempt from the military service either, and they had to pass a law to allow this. However, BTS's contribution to the Korean economy has long surpassed any contribution from any athletes in the past. I think if you are an idol group that has given this much, you should be allowed to continue to do your career and give more if you want to. A lot of Koreans are very upset and or will be very upset if the law actually exempts BTS, but it's very strange how this topic of conversation is not the same when an athlete doesn't go. Also, I can totally understand if you're Korean and decide to be mad or furious for BTS not going. I don't agree, but I don't have to agree. This is not my culture, and really whatever opinion I have doesn't even matter. But I still want a debate. What bothers me is when non-Korean people shame BTS for the possibility of not going. It's easy to shame someone for a culture you do not understand, and also shame someone when you yourself don't have this obligation to go. If you're forced to go and you didn't want to, I'm sure you'd feel differently about going and or may support BTS for the possibility of not going. And if you're going to force BTS and say they should go, well, the American military takes everyone. Fill out an application and back up your words. People have no right to force someone's culture on someone. I can be all sorts of Asian and choose not to partake in Asian culture, and that is my right. I can also choose to embrace my culture, and that is my right too. But no one can or is allowed to make that decision for me. And no one can say that BTS is not Korean or is shaming Koreans if they are exempt and choose not to go. So here goes the real question. Do you think that officially the government will announce an exemption? All signs currently point to yes, as it seems everyone in the government wants this. And do you think BTS is less than should they be exempt and not go? And if you're Korean, how do you feel about this? We will probably hopefully get an official answer from the government soon, but I just wanted to drop my thoughts here. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.